morning, ladies and gentlemen out there. Day 4 today, antique and classical guitars. We will have musical instruments later. So just a very quick one regarding the musical instrument sale. If you are tuned in on the internet, you will need to log out of this sale afterwards and then go into the musical instrument sale. So they are separate sales. You need to do a separate registration for each sale. Just so you are aware of that if you are planning on bidding in both auctions. Usual terms and conditions, the main things are buyer's premium 26.4% including VAT. That is applicable on the hammer prices. And the other thing to say is condition and originality. You've all had a chance to ascertain the condition of lots, those of you who have viewed in person throughout the week. And for those of you who are online and haven't viewed, then you've had a chance to ask for condition reports. If you haven't, then you are bidding blind, which we recommend you do not do. Yeah, you've all had a chance to ascertain the condition and originality. And obviously there is no comebacks if there are any problems if you have viewed or asked for condition reports. Internet platforms today, I've got 3 internet platforms in front of me here. I've got those of you in the room, and I've got commission bids and telephone bids throughout the day. I'll try and make it very clear where I'm taking bids from. If you think I'm going to miss your bid, please do shout at me if you're in the room, because I do spend a lot of time looking at the internet screens with all the activity. I shouldn't do though, and for those of you who are on the internet, bids can come in last minute, and I do not have the reflexes to pull the hammer back up, so there may be the odd occasion where a bid comes in on time as my hammer's falling, and the clerks will relay that to me, and we will open it back up in fairness to everyone. So please don't get upset if that happens to you online, because the same courtesy will be extended to you if you are full foul of it yourselves. But I think that's all we need to say. We've obviously got pedals. I should mention on Monday, we've had to go to a 5-day sale because the sale got so big. So we do have effects pedals on Monday. We're not open on Saturday and Sunday, but we will be on view throughout the rest of the day for pedals. And then pedals, we open at 9 on Monday for viewing until 10. Then the sale starts at 10. And then if you have got anything to sell, then our next auction is coming up on the week commencing the 8th of September. Deadline of entries is the 1st of August. So if you do have anything to sell, please get in touch. We would be delighted to discuss. Already well over 200 guitars consigned for that sale, so another big event. But here we go. Antique and classical guitars, like I said, lot 1601 we start with is the Asturias John Mills model classical guitar, made in Japan, as we say there, and I have bids on commission at 120, 130, do we see? At 120 on commission, do I see 130 if you like it on the internet? At 120, do I see 130 now? At 130, I'm out the bids online. 140, at 130, do I see 140 now? At £130, all finished all short at £130, 130, and that's bar number 2677. Lot 1602 is the Manuel Rodriguez Model C Electro Acoustic Classical Guitar. There we go, at 180, 190, 200 do we see? At 190 do I see 200 if you like? At 190 holding, do I see 200 if you like for one more? At £190 then, 200 do we see? At £190, 190. Lot 1603 is the 1981 Cuenca 110 classical guitar. There we go, Spanish made this one at 340, 360, 380, 400 do we see? At 380 do I see 400 now? At 380 do I see 400 if you like for one more bid? At £380. We all finished all short at £380. Lot 1604 is the Manuel Contreras classical guitar. There we go, and we have bids at 240 on the internet opening up. 260 do we see? 260 bid 280 now. At 260 do we see 280? Holding on the GH Live platform then at 260, 280 do we see? At £260. Hammer going down at 260 then, all short done at 260, 260, and that's bar number 2781. Lot number 1605 is the 1981 Alhambra 8C classical guitar. There we go, at 320, opening 340, 360. At 340, do I see 360 now? At £340, do I see 360 if you like? At 340, 360, 380. At 360, internet bid holding at 360, do I see 380 elsewhere? I'm going to sell then to the internet bid at £360. It will sell at £360, all finished, all sure at 360. 360, buyer number 2336. Lot number 1606 is a 1967 Rockerman 98 N8, should I say, classical guitar. There we go, and I've got bids to be away at £60 on commission. 65 do I see? At £60 holding on commission, do I see 65 now? At £60, do I see 65 elsewhere? At £60 then, all finished, all sure at £60. £60, and that's my buyer number 32. Lot 1607 is a 1984 RE Spain classical guitar. There we go. Good guitar, this, made in Poole, as we say, England. And where can we start on this one? 120, 130, 140, 150. At 140, do I see 150? Very good classical guitar there. It's not a lot of money. At 140, do I see 150? 150 bid 160. At 150, do I see 160 now? At £150 holding 160, do we see? 160, 170. At 160, do I see 170? 170, 180. At 170, 180 now. At £170, do I see 180 elsewhere? At £170 then. Last chance, all sure, all done at £170. 170, buy number 3076. Thank you there online. 1608 is the 2012 Edward Hall Torres model classical guitar. I've got bids coming straight in at £150 to see 160. At 150 holding. It's a lot of guitar for the money there at 150 only. 160 do we see? At 150. Do we see 160 elsewhere for a bid? At £150. 160 just in time. 170. At 160 do I see 170? At £160 do I see 170 for one more? At £160. The last chance, all sure, all done at 160. 160, buy number 3076. Lot number 1609 is a 2011 Yulong Guo there, chamber concert guitar. Very nice guitar indeed. And I can start this with interest at £1,200 on commission. 1250 do we see? I have £1,200 on commission. Do I see 1250 now? I'm going to sell then at £1,200. The last chance, all sure, all done at £1,200 and selling with my bar against you, all done at £1,200. 1200, my buyer number 8. Lot 1610 is the 1989 Manuel Rodriguez Model C classical guitar. There we go, the Model C. And where can we start on this one? £100, 110 do we see? At £100 do we see 110 now? 110, 120, 130. At 130, 140. At £130, 140, 150, 150, 160. Ireland bidding against the UK there. At 150, we're holding in Ireland then. 160 do we see? It's an Irish bid then. At 160, back in the UK bid. 170 do we see? At £160, do I see 170? 170, 180. At £170, do I see 180 elsewhere? At £170 then. All finished, all sure, all done at £170. Last chance, all done at 170. 170. And that is buyer number 2709. Lot number 1611 is the interesting nylon string guitar with the bold rosewood back. There we go. You will note the hairline crack to the lower bout. At £140, interesting guitar there. 150 do we see? At 140 do I see 150? At £140 do I see 150 if you like? At £140 then, all finished, all short at £140. Lot number 1612 is the Milestones of Music, L'Espagne there. Classical guitar, another good Chinese made classical guitar there. And at £1,000, 1,050 do we see? At £1,000 do I see 1,050 now? At £1,000 do I see 50 coming in? At £1,000 then, all finished, all sure, all done at £1,000. Lot number 1613 is the 1997 Francisco Vico Molina. There we go, classical guitar. It's a good classical guitar, this one. And we've got bids, various coming in. And I can start this away at £380 on commission. 400 do I see? At 380 do I see 400 now? I have 380 on commission. We're looking for 400 if you like elsewhere. I'm going to sell then on commission against you all at £380. How am I going down at 380? 380, and that's bar number 2691. Lot 1614 is the El Castillo M3 classical guitar. There we go at 260, 280, 300 do we see? At 280 do I see 300, should see bids. At 280 do I see 300 elsewhere? At £280 then. Are we all finished all sure? At £280. Lot 1615 is the Armin Hanika Flamenco KF guitar. There we go. Good maker there. And it's £550. 580, 600 do we see? At 580, 600 now. At 580, 600 for one more. At 580 then, all finished all sure at 580. Lot number 1616 is the next Armin Hanika there. This time at 600, 620, 650. At 620 do I see 650 now? At 620 do I see 650 if you like? At £620, 650, 680. At 650 do I see 680 now? At £650 do I see 680 coming in? At 650 holding on the internet then? 680, 700. At 680 do I see 700 now? At 680, 700, 700, 720. Holding on the sell room then at £700. I will sell at £700. Hammer going down at £700. 720, 750 new bidder. 780. At 750 do I see 780. Hammer going down last chance. All done at 750. 750, buy number 8170. 1617 is the Paulino Bernabe there, the E8 classical guitar. And at 380 with interest starting me away, 400 do we see? At 380 do I see 400? At £380 do I see 400 if you like? At £380 then. Are we all finished all sure? At £380. Last chance at 380. Hammer going down at 380. 400. We've got a bid from the US just coming in there on time, knocking my bid out at 420 do we see? At £400 do I see 420 then? It's the US bidder holding at £400. Hammer going down at £400. 400, and that's buy number 2489. 1618 is the 1970s. It's Giannini GN50 nylon string guitar. This is a nice little small body guitar there. And at £100, 110, 120 do we see? At 110 do I see 120 now? At £110 do I see 120? At 110 do I see 120 elsewhere if you like? At £110. Are we all finished all sure? No further interest at 120s coming in. At £110 then. All finished all sure at 110. Last chance all done at 110. Lot number 1619 is the Epiphone by Gibson C50 classical guitar. Together with the PV there. And we have bids going away and at £70 with two internet bidders going at it. 75 do we see? At £70 do we see 75? At £70, 75 do we see elsewhere? At £70 then, all finished all sure at £70. 580. 85 do we see? At £80 we have a bid holding in Serbia. 85 do we see elsewhere? At £80 for the two guitars. 85 do we see? At £80 then, all finished all sure at £80. £80, and that's bar number 2777. Lot 1620 is the 1964 Levin LFL7 nylon string classical guitar. There we go at 150, 160. At 150 do I see 160 now? At £150 do I see 160 for the Levin coming in? At £150 then, all finished all sure. Last chance all done at 150. Lot 1621 is the Admira Virtuoso EC electroacoustic classical guitar. I have bids on commission, but I will let the internet sort itself out. And I am out. 130, the internet bid knocking my commission bid out. 140 do we see? 140, 150, 150, 160. There's our Serbian bidder there again at 150. Do I see 160? 160 back in the UK. 170, 180. At 170 do I see 180? At £170, it's the GH Live platform holding at 170, 180 do we see? 180, 190, 190, 200. At 190 do I see 200 now? At £190 I see 200 for one more. At £190 then, all finished all sure at 190. 190, buyer number 2777. Lot 1622 is the Raymundo Model 128 classical guitar. There we go, the Raymundo there. At £45.50 do we see. At £45 starting, 50 now, 50, 55. At £50 bid, 55. It's a selling bid, make no mistakes, it's here to sell, no reserve. At £50 to see 55. At £50 then, all finished, 55. They all want it now, £60, 65. At £60 to see 65 now. At £60 to see 65 elsewhere, 65, 70, 75. At £70, 75 now. At £70. Are we all finished all sure, are we? We're still going. We're up to 80, 85 do we see. At £80 bid, 85 now. At £80. How am I going down? At £80, last chance all sure at 85, 90. At £90, 95 now. At £90 then, are we holding, are we? And we're finished. At £90, all finished, all sure, done at £90. £90, and that's bar 2781. Lot number 1623 is the 1968 Taurus classical guitar. At £35, opening up, 40 do we see. At £35 for the Taurus there, 40 now. 40, 45, bid, 45, 50, 50, 55. At £50 holding, 55, 60, 60, 65. At £60 holding, bid, 65 do we see. 65, 70, 75. At £75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, 110, 120, 130. At 120 do we see 130, 130, 140. At 140 do we see 150 now. At 150 do we see 160, 170. At 160 do we see 170 now. 170, 180, 180, 190. At £180 do we see 190 elsewhere. At £180 then, all finished all sure at 180. Hammer going down at 180, all finished all sure at 180. 180, and that goes to buy number 2781. Lot 1624 is the 1988 Andrew Dickinson classical guitar, English made. Good guitar this one, and I can start this away with interest at £400, 420, 420, 440, 460, 460, and I'm out. The bid's in the room at 460. Do I see 480 elsewhere? At 460, holding in the room. Ladies bid at 460. Do I see 480 now? At 460, seated in the room. 480, we're coming back in. At 460, do I see 480? At 460, against my buyer then, in the room at 460. Hammer going down at 460. 460, there we go, 356, congratulations. 1625 is the 1993 David Whiteman classical guitar. There we go, the David Whiteman there. And where can we start this one? At £600, 620, 650, 680, 700. At 680, do I see 700 now? At 700, 720. At £700, holding on the internet there, 720 do we see? At £700, so see 720. At £700, holding on the internet then, and it will sell. At £700, it's a selling bid at £700. All finished, all sure. The internet bid taking it away then at £700. 700, buy number 2494. Lot number 1626 is a 2002 Amalio Piguet there. The Negra classical guitar, and at 380, 400, 420, 440, 460 do we see. At 440 do we see 460. At 440 do we see 460 if you like. At £440 do I see 460 coming in. 460, 480, 480, 500. At 480 holding, 500 do we see. At £480 do I see 500 if you like. At £480 then, are we all finished? All sure, all done at 480. 500 new bid at 520. At £500 do I see 520 if you like. At £500 then, all finished, all sure, all done at £500. 500. £500, bar number 2873. Lot 1627 is the Cordoba Fusion Series 12 Maple Electro Acoustic Nylon String Guitar. Always very popular, these, and this one's in great condition as well. And we do have bids at 260 holding on the internet. 280 do we see. At 260 do we see 280 now. At 200, 280, 300. At 280 do we see 300 now. At £280 Do I see 300 elsewhere? At £280, then all finished all short at 280. 280. Buyer number 3076. Lot number 1628 is the Hofner small body classical guitar in need of some attention. Together with the other one there, we got two in the lot and we have £30 bid. At 35 do we see? At £30, do I see 35? 35, 40, 45 do we see? At £40, 45, 50, 55. At £50 bid, 55 now. At £50. And we're going down at £50 then. All finished, all done, all short at £50. £50, bar number 2902. Lot 1629 is the 1960s Manuel Contreras classical guitar. There we go. At 120, 130, 140, 150 do we see? At 140 do I see 150 now? At 140, 150 do I see for the Contreras? At £140 do I see 150 if you like? At £140 then, all finished, all sure. Bids now coming in. Two internet bidders flashing up and knocking my bid out. 160, 170 do we see? At 160 do we see 170? Are we all finished, all sure? 70, 180. At 170 do I see 180 now? At £170 do I see 180 elsewhere? At 170, we're up to 180 now. Bid 190 do we see? 190, 200. At 190 do I see 200 now? At £190 then, all finished, all sure, all done. 200 bid 220. At £200 holding, do I see 220 if you like? At 200, 220, 240. At 220, do I see 240? Decisions there on the internet. You coming in for one more at 240? At £220, all finished, last chance, all done. 240, you're back in, 260. At 240, do I see 260? At £240 then, all finished, all sure, all done. At £240, 240, buyer number 2873. Lot 1630 is the Admira F4 flamenco guitar within the Manson Guitars gig bag. There we go, £65.70 do we see? At £65.70, 75, 80, at 80, 85, at £80, 85, 85, 90, 95, 95, 100, 110, 110, 120, at 110 do I see 120 now? At £110 do I see 120 elsewhere? At 120, 130. At £120, 130, 140. At 130 do I see 140, 140, 150. At 140 do I see 150. At £140 do I see 150 coming in. At £140 then, all finished, all sure, all done. At 140, 150, 160. At 150 do I see 160 now. At £150 do I see 160 if you like. At £150 then, all finished, all sure. At 150, last chance, all done at 150. 150, and that's bar number 2873. We have some telephone lines to go if we have a phone clerk around shortly. And 1631 is the 1976 Jose Ramirez Tomas Model 2C classical guitar, not to be confused with the Jose Ramirez, of course. But there we go, as labelled. And 180, 190, 200 do we see? At 190 do we see 200 now? At 190 do we see 200 if you like? At £190 holding, 200 do we see? At £190 all finished, all sure at 190. Lot 1632 is the Matsuoka M20 classical guitar. I've got bids to be away at £110 on commission. 120 do we see? At 110 do we see 120? At 110 do we see 120 elsewhere? I'm selling then at £110, 120, 130, 140. At 130 holding, 140 do we see? It's with me against the internet at 130 do I see 140? At £130. How am I going down at 130 then? Last chance, all sure, all done at 130. 130, and that's buyer number 2585. 1633 is the 2007 David Rouse classical guitar. There we go, and at 1800, 1850, 1900, 1950, 2000 do we see for one more? At 1950 do I see 2000? At 1950 holding 2000 do we see? At 1950 do I see 2000 if you like? Are we all finished, all sure? At 1950 then holding against at 1950. Hammer going down at 1950, final warning all done at 1950, last chance all done, 1950. 1634 is the Ibanez Andorra Classic Recital. There we go. And I can start this away with bids and interest at £110 on commission. 130 do we see? At 110 do we see 130? At 110 holding with my buyer. 120, 130, 140. At 130 do I see 140? At £130 to see 140 now. At 130 do I see 140 if you like. At £130 then, holding with my buyer against the internet at 130. 130. Lot 1635 is the 1980 Michael Van Den classical guitar. There we go, the Michael Van Den, an early guitar of the maker, and a good guitar as well. And at 700, 720, 750, 780, 800 now. At 780 do I see 800? At £780 do I see 800 if you like? At £780 to see 800 for one more coming in, are we? At 780 for the Van Den, 800 do we see? At £780 then, we all finished all sure at £780. Last chance all done at 780. Lot number 1636 is the Sierra Model 600 classical guitar. Japanese made this one at £20, 25 do we see? At £20 to see 25 now. At £20 to see 25 there for one more. At £20, 25, 30. At £25 bid 30 now, 30, 35. At 30, 35, 40. At £35 to see 40 now. At £35 to see 40 if you like. At £35. Hammer's going down at £35, all finished, all sure at £35. 35 and sold to buyer number 2494. Lot number 1637 is the 1998 Rohan Low classical guitar. There we go, the Rohan Low, another English made guitar and very good quality again. And at 900, 920, 950, 980, 1000. At 1050, at £1,000 holding on the internet, then bid 1050 do we see? At £1,000 you coming back in at a 50. At £1,000 then, Hammer going down at £1,000, selling to the internet at £1,000. 1,000, and that's buyer number 3077. Lot 1638 is a 2004 Luthier L66 electro classical guitar. There we go, we've got bids at 140, 150, 160, 170. At 160 do we see 170. At £160, 170, 180, 190. At 180 do we see 190 if you like. At 180 do I see 190 now. At 180 do I see 190. At £180, 190, 200, 220. At £200, 220 do we see? 220 were bid, 240. At 220 do I see 240. At £220 do I see 240 now. At £220 then, all finished all short at £220. 220, buyer number 2494. Lot number 1639 is the early 19th century classical guitar. Labelled Julian Gomez Ramirez. There we go. At £2,000, 2,200 do we see? I'll take the one if it helps. At £2,000, we'll see 2,100 now. At £2,000, we'll see 2,100 elsewhere. At £2,000. Are we all finished then, all sure? At £2,000, 2,100 do we see? At £2,000. Lot number 1640 is the Levin for Martin LG8 nylon string guitar. £100 we're bid for the two guitars there. 110 do we see? At £100 do I see 110 now? At £100 then, we'll finish all sure all done at £100. 110, 120, 120, 130. At 120 do I see 130 now? At £120 to see 130 elsewhere. 130, 140. At 140, 150. At £140 to see 150 now. At £140, all finished, all sure, all done at £140. The last chance, all done at 140. 140, and that's buyer number 2777. Lot number 1641 is the 1991 David Oddy classical guitar. There we go, David Oddy guitar there. Very good reputation indeed, fantastic maker, sadly no longer with us. And at 420, 440, 460, 480, 500 now. At 480 to a C500. At £480 to a C500 now. At 480 to a C500 for one more. At £480 then, all finished, all sure, all done. At £480, last chance all done at 480. 480. Lot 1642 is the B&M classical guitar. There we go, Spanish made there. At £30 we have with bids opening. 35 do we see? At £30 with bids, 35 now. Are we all done and selling at £30? Hammer going down at £30. £30, buy number 2902. Lot number 1643 is the 1981 Bill Dinsdale classical guitar. There we go, the Dinsdale guitar there. And it's 400, 420, 440, 460, 480, 500 do we see? At 480 do we see 500 now? At 480 do we see 500 for the Dinsdale there? At 480, 500 do we see? At £480. Hammer going down at £480, all finished, all short at 480. Last chance all done at £480. Hammer going down at 480. Lot 1644 is the antique Pedro Alvarez pineapple guitar in need of restoration. I've got bids to be away at £80 on commission. 85 do we see? At £80 we'll see 85 now. At £80 with my buyer against you all. 85 do we see? At £80 then, hammer going down at £80, my buyer, all finished, all done. £80, my buyer, number 18. Lot 1645 is the Granary Collection, this 1967. Manuel Contreras classical guitar. There we go. At, where can we start? At 1550, 1600 do we see? Opening up at 1550, do I see 1600 if you like? At 1550, do I see 1600 now? At 1550, do I see 1600? At 1550, 1600 do we see for one more? At 1550 then, all finished, all sure, all done at 1550, 1600 if you like. At 1550, hammer going down at 1550. Lot 1646 is the Granary Collection again, the 1956 Domingo Esteso there, classical guitar, and as labelled at £2,000, 2,100 do we see? At £2,000, 2,100 now. At £2,000, do we see 2,100 elsewhere? At £2,000. Are we all finished then? At £2,000. Last chance all done at £2,000. Hammer going down. Lot number 1647 is the next one there, the Julian Gomez Ramirez, the child's guitar. And at £1,000, 1,050 do we see? At £1,000, do we see 1,050? At £1,000, do we see 1,050 elsewhere? At £1,000 then, all finished, all sure, all done at £1,000. Lot number 1648 is the interesting 19th century small-bodied guitar, as labelled there, at 400, 420, 440, 460 do we see? At 440 do we see 460? At 440 do we see 460 now? At £440, all finished, all sure, done at 440. 1649 is the 19th century Haynes Excelsior acoustic guitar with the internal William B. Tilton improvement design. £200 with bids, 220 do we see? At £200, all finished then, selling on the internet at £200, 220, 240. At 240, 260. At 240 do we see 260 now? At £240, 240, buy number 8040. Lot 1650 is the fine French boat-shaped guitar, as labelled there. Very interesting guitar there. And at £1,000, 1,050, 1,100, 1,150, 1,200 do we see? At 1,150 do we see 1,200 now? At 1,150 do we see 1,200? At 1,150 I'll take the 1,200 on the telephone if you're interested. 1,200 bid on the telephone, 1,250 do we see? At £1,200, and I'm out the bids on the telephone, do I see 1,250 elsewhere? At £1,200, do I see 1,250 if you like elsewhere? And I will sell at £1,200. Telephone bidder, all done at £1,200 then, and selling at £1,200 with James's buyer at £1,200 there. 1,200, and that's buyer number 6. Buyer number 6. Thank you there on the telephone. 1651 is the 19th century Dutch small body guitar. There we go, the Dutch small body guitar there, and I can start this away with interest at £50. 55 do we see? At 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85. At £80 my buyer, do I see 85 elsewhere? At £80 with my buyer, 85, 90, 95. At 90, 95 now. At £90 to C95. At £90 then, all finished, all sure, 95. 100, 110. At £100, 110 now. At £100 for C110. At £100 then, all finished, all sure, all done at 100. 110, 120. 120, 130. At 120 with me, 130 do we see. At 120 to a C130. At £120 then, all finished, all sure, all done at 120. 130, 140. At 130 to a C140 now. At £130 then, all finished, all sure, all done at 130. 130. 304. That was my buyer. Sorry, we're going to open that back up because there was a discrepancy there with the internet. 130, 140. At £130 to a C140 now. At 140, 150. At 140 to a C150. If you were bidding on lot 1651, you have been outbid. 140 we're holding with my buyer. There was a discrepancy between me and the clerk there. At 140 to a C150. At 140 to a C150 elsewhere. 150, 160. One more lot, Mike. 150, 160 do we see. At 150, 160, 170. At 160 to a C170. At £160 to a C170. At £160 then, all finished, all sure, all done. At £160 is with me on commission against the internet. 170 now. At 160 to a C170. At 160 it's with me against 170 do we see. At £160 then. Are we all finished, all sure? It's selling on commission with my buyer. 160. 160. Thanks for your patience online there. And 1652, the last lot of the day. Well, not the day. We've got musical instruments coming up. But the last lot of this section is, of course, the 1652. The interesting French guitar, circa 1830. Very nice guitar indeed. You've all had a chance to have a look. You can see from the images. Very well made guitar, lovely thing, and at £1,300 we're opening with interest and bids from Australia. 1350 do we see. At 1300, 1350, 1400, 1450, 1450, 1500. At 1500, 1550, 1600, 1650. At 1600, 1650 do we see. At £1,600 holding. Are we done there on the internet then? £1,600. I'll go to the telephone. 1650. 1650, 1700, 1750. 1800, 1850. 1900. At 1850 holding on the telephone to see 1900 now. Selling then to the telephone bidder at 1850. All finished, all sure, all done. Telephone bidder all done at 1850. 1850, buy number 6.
Yeah, that's yours, sir.
There we go, ladies and gents. Thanks very much for your attention today. The guitar sale is not quite finished as we have pedals coming back up on Monday at 10 AM. So about 400 lots of pedals. But if you are interested in the musical instrument sale, please remember to log out of this cell and go into the musical instrument cell in the other tab, and we will be back with you at approximately 11 AM. Look forward to seeing some of you there. Many thanks.
Brilliant. Very, very good call. Yeah.